All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're tearing down an absolutely insane survival sequence from the Scorpion's ultimate sting. We're going to analyze exactly how a highly skilled protagonist uses extreme resourcefulness, some brilliant tactical evasion, and just sheer psychological grit to escape a high-speed police chase. And as if that wasn't enough, he immediately faces an even deadlier threat, a lethal Montana blizzard. This isn't just your standard action sequence, guys. It's a literal masterclass in split-second decision-making and stretching incredibly limited gear to its absolute limits. Let's get into it.
So, how do you survive a deadly blizzard when you're literally just wearing a t-shirt? I want you to throw yourself into his shoes for a second. You're blasting north in a bullet-riddled Mustang. The sun has just dipped behind the Rocky Mountains. The wind is starting to absolutely howl, and you're wearing nothing but a t-shirt. No winter coat, no survival gear, just the clothes on your back and a basic pocket knife. And as we'll see, the freezing elements aren't even the first thing trying to kill him here.
Okay, Section 1, the high-stakes evasion. Right, so before he can even worry about the snow, there's this massive, immediate tactical threat. As he's driving down the highway, he hits a heavily armed roadblock. We're talking 4 patrol cars strategically parked with officers out and holding shotguns. So let's look at his options. Option 1, go off-road to bypass them. Well, actually scratch that, he can't. The cops smartly chose a spot with deep ditches on both sides. Option 2, ramming right through. Also a complete no-go. His Mustang is lightly armored and just cannot withstand a barrage of shotgun slugs. Option 3 would be a bootlegger's turn to flee back the way he came, but he's too low on fuel for a prolonged chase. He's totally boxed in. He needs an improvised, absolute genius maneuver to get out of this. And what he does next is an absolute masterstroke of misdirection. Instead of driving into shotgun range, he dead stops a quarter-mile away. This forces the cops to come to him. The split second they move, he throws that Mustang into reverse, slams the gas, and rockets backward before whipping the car around. He hits speeds of 160 miles per hour. I mean, why? Because he wants to draw all 4 patrol cars into a high-speed chase, completely pulling them away from their defensive fortified positions. Once he creates some distance, he slows to 80 miles per hour, intentionally kicking up this massive cloud of frozen dirt to blind them as he turns off the highway. Then, he drops his speed to 25 miles per hour, grabs his black nylon bag, tucks his head, and literally rolls out the door. The driverless Mustang just keeps rolling right into a shallow pond and sinks, leaving the cops to assume he probably drowned inside. It's just a brilliant, flawless evasion.
Moving on to Section 2, battling the Montana blizzard.
So, out of the frying pan and straight into the freezer. As he runs northeast using clumps of aspen trees for cover, the primary threat shifts instantly from the police to the environment. The temperature reading on his car's mirror right before it sank was exactly 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and it is actively dropping. Remember the baseline we established? He is in a t-shirt. The brutal reality of that number, 20 degrees, just cannot be overstated when you have zero insulation. But here's the thing, the ambient temperature isn't even the real killer here. A massive blizzard hits, dropping these huge, quarter-sized snowflakes in a horizontal, blinding white curtain. He's suddenly facing severe wind chill. The wind is violently stripping away that tiny, thin layer of warm air surrounding his body. Because of this extreme wind chill, he calculates he's going to be completely unconscious from exposure in exactly 10 minutes if he doesn't find shelter. He is officially on a biological ticking clock.
Which brings us to Section 3, the psychology of survival.
You know, surviving something like this isn't just physical, it is deeply, deeply psychological. So he actually pops a Xanax, not for recreation, obviously, but as this crazy, calculated move to biochemically force his nerves and his body to calm down. He has to keep his heart rate steady. So he's blindly navigating toward this supposed ghost town, tripping over shrubbery, just entirely exhausted. When he finally gets there, there's no shelter left, just collapsed walls. His mental state tanks. He gives up, sits down in the snow, and literally begins to freeze to death as he drifts to sleep. But his encrypted caller, this female ally of his, had actually programmed his smartwatch to ring his phone if his pulse rate dropped. So the alarm violently wakes him from this freezing sleep. When she's yelling at him to get up before he freezes, he just mumbles that, quote, "death isn't so bad." She fires back with a naughty joke just to gauge his lucidity, and his dark, sarcastic response proves he still has that cognitive fight left in him. Section 4, improvised shelter and gear. So now he's completely awake but shivering violently, right? He forces himself up to hike another mile. And this is where his resourcefulness just blows your mind. Earlier, he quite literally stumbled onto his salvation, a piece of roadside trash. He found this discarded brown canvas tarp. This is textbook survival adaptation. Using just his pocket knife, he improvises a crude poncho, cuts out a hood, cuts a strip to make a belt to tie it tightly against his core. But listen, canvas doesn't generate heat, it only traps it. So what does he do? He drops to his knees in the middle of a screaming blizzard and starts doing push-ups inside the tarp. He is physically generating body heat and trapping it right inside that little microclimate. I mean, what an incredible on-the-fly way to solve a lethal problem.
He eventually makes it to a cave, but of course, the main cavern has completely collapsed. He's left with just this tiny 8 by 12 foot entrance space. It's full of hanging bats, and that freezing wind is just whipping right inside. So he forces himself back out into the deadly cold. He chops down these little aspen saplings and wedges them across the opening. Then he gathers thick clumps of sagebrush and stuffs them tightly between all the saplings. He literally builds a physical wall, sealing the entrance and completely blocking that Arctic wind. He's successfully created a survivable, though still freezing, microenvironment. All right, Section 5, Sparking Fire from Nothing. Okay, we've reached the absolute climax of his survival run. The wind is blocked, sure, but he's in pitch blackness and his body is shutting down from shivering. If he's going to survive the night, he absolutely must create a heat source, and this is a true MacGyver moment. Working entirely by touch in the total dark, he pulls a .40 caliber cartridge from his Glock magazine. With his pocket knife, he actually pries the bullet out of the brass casing and dumps the gunpowder onto a little pile of sagebrush twigs. Next, he rips apart his small flashlight. He pulls out a tiny piece of wire, strips the insulation off the ends, and scrapes the metal off the side of one of the batteries near the positive pole. He holds one end of the wire to the positive pole and touches the other end to the scraped side of the battery. He creates a literal short circuit. The second the wire ends glow red hot, he presses them right into the gunpowder. Boom! It ignites instantly, setting the sagebrush ablaze. From absolutely nothing, in pitch black, he creates life-saving fire. So, with the cave lit up and his core finally warming, he sits back and inventories that black nylon survival bag. And the big takeaway here is just how absurdly unequipped he was for a blizzard. Let's look at what he's working with. He's got 2 stolen Beretta pistols, a rubber mask, some military MREs, a couple of cold sausage and egg biscuits, $4,800 in cash, and a stack of fake IDs. Guys, he was geared up for a heist or an assassination, not sub-zero wilderness survival. And yet, through sheer mental focus and ingenuity, he manipulated his environment to stay alive. But just as he sits down to finally eat one of those cold biscuits and catch a breath, he hears something scratching. Something is pawing at his improvised cave entrance. He looks up and spots a sand-colored animal with glowing red eyes just staring dead at him. He instantly draws his Glock on this totally unknown threat. Like, what kind of predator is hunting him now? And how on earth do you fight off a wild animal trapped inside a tiny enclosed cave? It is a massive cliffhanger that just leaves you begging to see how his tactical brain handles an entirely new kind of enemy. And that wraps up our explainer for today. Keep analyzing, keep learning, and we will absolutely catch you next time.